Very troubling signs have emerged in the economy, and I need to show you what they are right here today. You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. It's not all about just recognizing what's going on, but of course, we have to understand what can be done about it on an individual level. And then, if they ever decide to do anything beneficial for us, maybe on the government level as well, I want to note a few things. The very first is that the US economy takes a step backward in April. And we can see that, of course, demand is weakening. But why is that the case? I mean, are people suddenly just like, practicing minimalism? They're becoming monks all over the place? No. Okay. What's happening here is that stuff is too expensive and people have to pull back where they don't need to. Of course, some things they just can't get rid of and some things they won't get rid of until they absolutely must. And so you are seeing the spend being concentrated into different places. This is the US. We see other measures in Canada, for instance. Canada's output per capita, a measure of standard of living, plummets. Plummets. The decline amounts to roughly $4,200 per person. So this is a significant sum because you can see what people are dealing with on a per capita basis. People are pulling back that spending. They can't spend in some places. And, you do go around and you see things, but I'll show you why. I'll show you what's happening on a different level. Where is the spend going? How is it being accumulated? Well, we have a problem. And it's a four-letter word. Yes. Not, you probably think of a lot of four-letter words. I'm talking about one that starts with D. There's a four-letter word that starts with D. I'm talking about debt. Debt is a four-letter word, a dirty four-letter word that we need to be careful about. Now, debt can be used as a tool of leverage, but it can be very painful, particularly when we're talking about the so-called bad debt, when it's credit card debt and so on. And we're going to look at that today. Total debt in Canada, consumer, corporate, and government debt combined has reached $10.2 trillion, while our GDP is less than a third of that at $2.86 trillion. That is a debt to GDP ratio of 357%. So you got a problem. And you compare that to other countries, and it starts to look a little bit, terrible, to say the least. Let me show you. This is the debt burden of countries prior to a debt crisis. And you'll look at that. Canada, 2024, number 3 on the list. Number 3. You have Iceland in 2007. You have the UK of 2007. These, imagine, like, dealing with significant debt crises. And Canada right now today is right there. Is right there. US of 2007 is just behind it. So you can see how bad it is today when we compare to these times in which debt got out of control, it unraveled. You know what happened, obviously financial crisis. And that's where we are. So clearly there's an issue. Yes, Canada is one, but I show you this because, it's, sort of washed over that. No, don't worry about it. It's all good. It's all good. No, you're going to see what happens when you try and sweep something under the rug. You get the rot. You get the stench. You cannot cover it up. Okay, no matter how much Febreze you apply to the rot, it's gonna stink. All right. Looking at this, it shows us what's happening. Certainly, the credit card usage. This is U.S. Credit card usage has been off the charts, And then you look at the personal savings as a percentage of disposable personal income, and that has been declining overall. People don't save money, and they're spending more on credit cards. They're spending more on the buy now, pay laters. They do this, and they get one credit card to pay off the other one, and they do a balance transfer. Oh, I'll get another 12 months out of that. I mean, these type of things are extremely, extremely dangerous, and that's what's happening right now. Maximum debt, no savings, the country as a whole, the corporations, debt, you just add it up. But what happens if you remember When you were a kid, you had those big gums, the Hubba Bubba, Bubblicious, and you would blow that bubble. And that bubble, if you blew a small bubble, everything was all good. But if you tried to blow the biggest bubble you can, what happens? The bubble gets thinner as it grows bigger. And that's, of course, like an analogy of this financial system, the way that things are working, our countries, the bigger this grows, the weaker it is. And the more damage, eventually, the more mess that you will make. And it is very true today, more now than ever before. Now, I'm going to show you a couple charts. This is showing us in the US, the PCE, the personal consumption expenditure. Just think of that like the Fed's oh so fantastic way of measuring inflation. Okay, it's not a real rate of inflation, but we still need to look at it because that's what the Fed looks at. And you could see that services make up all the gains basically that we've been seeing. Services continue to rise considerably, both year over year and month over month. The same with the so-called core PCE. Services, overwhelmingly, that's the lighter blue section, okay? Services. And that is, I mean, you're feeling it. I know. I hear from you all the time. I look at your comments. If you understand what I'm saying, please let me know. Services have been the one. I mean, not that goods haven't been increasing, but services are just out of control. This is showing us the personal consumption expenditure, just looking at it broadly from 2018 up until now. And there has been an uptick, but I just want to show you this, how it looks like in context. Okay. And then we have this one here as well, just showing us that, okay, when we compare this, looking at this, I think a lot of people would be genuinely surprised that the US is not only not declining on the world stage, it's currently gaining in global economic share. The GDP increased $1.4 trillion last year, equivalent to adding the entire country of Spain. So this is the world share, but there's something going on here because the United States has its strength in that the US dollar is there, not to mention the economy itself and so on. But remember, we're comparing one country to another. A lot of these countries are so poorly positioned that the US looks almost good, I guess. Like, that's the way it is. It's like a reluctant invest. It's like, okay, what are we going to do? We're going to put it in Europe where they have so many, the list of problems in Europe is just goes on forever. You've got, parts of Asia, okay, they're growing, but they've got their own issues. You look at Latin America, there's growth there, certainly, but they have other issues too. And you start on the Canada, lost cause. You start to look at it and say, well, US, it's pretty secure. I mean, I know what to expect. Okay, let's just put our money there. And that's what happens. Now, one thing's like when we see the US dollar will decline in value against real goods. That's a fact. But so will the Canadian dollar and so will the Australian dollar and every other currency. They're all going to devalue against real goods because they printed a lot of money. But at the same time, the way I look at it is just trying to remember that this is in relation to each other. And, if they're looking better in relation to all these other countries, well, then they're going to do better than the others. So it's like from jumping from one sinking ship to another. That's what we're seeing here, okay? I need to make that clear. The debt is actually constricting. Just looking at the household debt as one example, as a percentage of annual disposable income, Canada is just off the charts in that, household debt, that is, I guess, manageable. They love that word, manageable, when interest rates are at zero, but they're not today. They're far from that. And of course, you could see that with Canada here. Yes, that says 185. Who's at the top of the list? Denmark. Remember, Denmark was giving out mortgages with negative interest rate? Yes, you heard me correctly. Negative interest rate. It was very brief and it was only because of the variable and it would like slightly dip below. But anyway, the point is it was basically free money, right? Norway, Switzerland, Netherlands, Australia, and so on, all the way down. And then the US is a little bit further down the list there. So that is a problem when you accumulate all this debt and you have no way to resolve it. How do you ever pay that back? Well, of course, the system is designed for it not to be paid back, but we get into a debt crisis. In a debt crisis, you find that somebody loses big time. Somebody's going to lose big time. Okay, will it be particular corporations? Will it be the people? Will it be the government itself and the debt default? Somebody's going to lose. And we're going to see how it all unravels. Right now, the people are losing. There's no question. Wallet bursting housing costs have some Torontonians ditching the city for cheaper pastures. Just showing a few examples of where places that people have gone. We used to live here. It's too expensive. We moved over there. Everything's much cheaper, much more affordable, and so on. That's okay for some people, but you got to understand that this isn't a resolution for others. Where do you move to? Where do you move to? Everything has become like, if you're moving to that place, chances are those people that lived there before you are pretty, upset because their costs are going to be driven up as well. So that's the issue that we're seeing today. I think it's important for individuals to do what they can. Pillars of prosperity, two things. If you can, you need to become more self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency will lower the ultimate burden that is being applied to you by inflation. You have to do what you can to increase your income as well. Okay, these are the things that I talk about. Particularly making more money is on the Sunday Business Live. If you have gone to that site, link in the description, and you're like, too much money and all this stuff, that's fine. What you can do is go to my playlists, How to End Solutions. That's one. I've got the other there's several playlists in there, but there's other things about how to fix the economy. I have an entire playlist, How to Fix the Economy. It's all there. I've got things of how to make money, all in there. Playlists. Check them out. And of course, I would love to see you on the live sessions as well. But at the very least, check out the playlists that I have here on my channel. If you appreciate this information, hit that thumbs up button and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.